off the video parting on the right hand side. If your guest parts on a different side, then just part it on the opposite and mimic what I'm doing. Then we take it from the high point of the head down to behind the ear. We call that the division point. So we're separating the front and the back. I also put a little ponytail in the back, which holds a good amount of tension so that when I'm cutting the front of the hair, I'm never pulling any of that back hair into it. So we're gonna focus on that first. So we start off, I wanna show you guys, this is really going over the different angles of the head. So what I like to do is find 90 degrees first, then I can understand where 0 degrees is. So you see, coming straight off the head shape, as we move back to the back of the head, the angles change. I'm also gonna be using the DB20 scissor from Mizutani. It's my favorite scissor that they make. It has that little finger groove in it, and it also has a really nice solid tang, and it's got the ball bearing screw and nano powder metal steel. So this is a top quality scissor. Really love using it. You can get it on freesalon.com if you would like to. We actually have deals on money off on that going on as well. Okay, so to start the haircut, I do a diagonal forward parting, I over direct it out, I keep it at 0 degrees. So if you think about where 90 is, which I showed you with the comb, I keep that at a 0 degree angle, which gives me a nice, still heavy feel, but it's not too heavy. We actually did this in a few videos ago. We went through and we did the perfect face frame. Well, this is perfect for fine hair. So I go through, I'm not only creating a face frame, but I'm creating layering throughout the whole cut. So because I'm over directing the hair from further and further back, I bring that over and I'm actually pushing that weight to the back of the head. So keeping it nice and heavy right around where it would normally be weaker. So if you think about people with fine hair, it gets weaker right around the temple area because they only have so much hair in there. In the back, it's a little bit heavier. So what I'm doing is I'm over directing everything forward in front of the face, and that's pushing that weight behind right around where the ear sits. And then obviously the heaviest point is in the back of the head. So I just keep bringing everything over and cutting it at 0 degrees. You'll notice my elevation goes up a little bit as I move back on the head shape. That's just because the head shape is shifting and changing. Also, notice my finger angle when I get to the side of the head. I drop my hand down because I'm coming straight off the side. So because that head shape is shifting and moving, I'm always changing where my finger angle is. So continuing through the top, just pulling everything over. Same thing in the sides, bringing it over to me. That's cutting not a super heavy face frame, but a nice soft face frame with just a little bit of weight. Now on the weak side, which is the side that we part on, she doesn't have as much hair, she doesn't have as much density. So what I like to do is keep the elevation nice and low and also kind of scoop out with my fingers. So you'll notice I kind of shift my palm up and cut in there and create that line as opposed to over directing it really far or over layering it, because I really want a little bit extra weight sitting on the weak side. So I'll work my way through there, staying consistent with my partings, basically working with vertical partings at this point and bringing everything over to a stationary guide. Cool thing about this haircut is that it started with a stationary guide in the first section, then we created a stationary guide in the second, and now we're going to create another stationary guide right behind the right ear, and I'm going to bring everything to that. I'm also going to use a little point cutting. I like to do point cutting in fine hair because I feel like it softens it a little bit, and you don't see as much of the lines in there. Point cutting is great on thick hair as well, but I just like the texture, and that's kind of what this haircut is all about in the end. So I keep that stationary guide, I over direct everything to right behind the ear, and then what that's going to do is push the weight to the center of the head. So it's almost creating that V shape in the back of the head. So going through, point cutting, keep over directing, taking vertical sections, and I go all the way over to the other side of the head, or as long as you're getting hair that's still going past your guideline. So just keep working your way across the back of the head, over directing it over until you run out of hair. Then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. So you see I'm kind of grabbing more and more. There's still hair to cut, but not a whole lot, and I keep working my way over. Now what this is going to do is kind of crisscross it as well. We've done this on past techniques. Okay, so this is also an important part. This is how we find our guideline, how we make sure that both sides are even. I pull a little piece of hair up, and I use that as my guideline, and I cut a horizontal line across the top. I take a nice thin section though. You don't want to take too much hair in there, because if you take too much hair, then you're going to change, you're over elevating it. What I want to do is just bring it all over. So I use that little piece as my guide, and now I cut the same way, bringing it to the left ear on the opposite side. And again, taking all the hair and pushing it to the sides behind the ear is just over directing it, and then allowing the weight to kind of collect in the very center of the head shape. Still layered, but definitely longer into the back, which gives it a nice flow, gives it a lot of movement, and really a cool shape to the haircut. So the other thing I want you to notice is that I'm always cutting from short to long, so from interior to the outer perimeter. So I was combing away, kind of pushing the hair away from myself. That's a good thing to do when you're trying to stay consistent with how you're combing and how you're cutting. Now I use the Paul Mitchell, this is the volume whip. I wanted to create volume in the hairstyle, so I put that in. I use quite a bit of it, about 4 or 5 pumps of it. And then I go in with the new Neuro Halo dryer, and I just do a power dry with the blow dryer. Then I go in with my Ergo paddle brush, and I brush through the style. What this is gonna do for me, I do the air drying, or like the hand drying, to give a little bit of volume, a little bit of, it's more of a salon kind of reality technique to me, is just getting some of that moisture out of the hair. Then I go through with the Ergo paddle brush, and I polish the hair a little bit. Then this is another thing that Paul Mitchell sent me. It's their promotional thing. I love hot off the press. That's been around for quite a while, but I'm going to use that before I do my iron work. So I blow dry the hair, get it nice and smooth. It's about 90% dry. Then usually what I'll do is spray hot off the press on, finish the other 10% of the drying. Then I section out the hair, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to iron it using the new Express Ion Unclipped. This thing, all of these tools unclip, and they detach, and you can add different attachments to it, and they keep coming out with more and more attachments, so it's kind of cool. You can just kind of collect them and use them for all. I'm guessing it's a limited edition. You can pick it up and you get 3 different wands with it, and also the brush. So that's what we're going to use to style today. And a little trick here, I learned this from my friend Ryan Belmonte, who is a Paul Mitchell educator. He just taught a class on our YouTube channel, and he gave this tip, which was holding the wand upside down. So more gripping it like this, as opposed to keeping your elbow up and then wrapping the hair around. Especially if you're working on it at home and you want to wrap your hair, it's just a lot easier to hold it this way, like a pencil, as opposed to holding it in your hand this way. So I just continue. I take small, about 1-inch square sections out of the hair, and I wrap them around the iron, and I just work my way through the whole head, really wrapping everything back, so, and in the same direction. So I work my way up the head shape. I want that kind of loose, lived-in curl. I keep everything nice and tight. Another little tip when you're doing this is to make sure that when you wrap the hair in the iron, you don't really stretch it yet. Let it cool, let it set, and then at the very end, we're gonna run our hands through it and break it up. Obviously, the most current style is not to leave these kind of spiral curls in there. So we'll go in and break it up with some texture spray at the very end. Again, see how I'm gripping the iron. I'm definitely, it's a new technique for me, but I really enjoy it because it keeps me comfortable. We talk about it all the time in hair cutting and everything else. Just keeping that elbow in a good position so you're not always up like this. It's just, you know, really working with the longevity of you as a hairdresser, making sure that you're, you know, doing things properly. When I curl it with the wand in the very front, this is that face frame that we created. So I took diagonal forward sections and then just curled it in the way that it was gonna live. I didn't fight the grain of the hair. I wasn't trying to create a bunch of volume that way because this is a little bit of a tighter wand anyway, so it was popping up. It's gonna create a lot of volume. So you can see I just kind of curl it away from the face and back. Last little curl here. Then I'm gonna go in, I'm using the Invisible Wear Undone Texture Hairspray. This is a really cool product because it's very light. Like it's almost like just building up volume and creating style, but not a lot of hold. So if you want something with hold, use something stronger. This I just spray in and just keep kind of overlaying it, and you can see how the shape just keeps expanding, which awesome. And that's when we talk about fine hair, that's what we're looking for, is a haircut that kind of matches up with, and then you obviously have your product choices and you expand that shape out.